Canada, we're diving into the science behind the weather now. I've had a couple people ask me, how can it snow when temperatures are above zero? Plus, we have that freezing rain risk outside of Montreal tomorrow morning. So we're talking precipitation types this morning with Ask Our Meteorologist. Now, if we have warm air versus cold air, this is going to impact the precipitation. Remember, temperature in our clouds is well below zero, likely minus 40 or so. If we have warm air right below the clouds, everything that falls out of the cloud that starts as an ice crystal is going to melt and reach down to the surface as rain. But what happens when cold air begins to invade? Cold air settles right along the surface and pushes warm air up. And if we're in a position where we have cold air in the clouds, warm air stretching down, but cold air right at the surface, we'll see precipitation coming from the cloud, melting completely, and then refreezing again as it hits the ground. And the precipitation doesn't freeze solidly before it hits the ground. It becomes super cool. The temperature of the water droplet will actually drop below freezing, so the second it hits the surface, it becomes a sheet of ice. Now, if there is a wee bit of warm air below the cloud and more cold air at the surface, what's going to happen is that you're going to have partial melting of your ice crystal through this warm air. It leaves behind what's called an ice nucleus. It allows that drop of rain to refreeze because it has something to actually freeze on as it goes back through this cold air. That's when you'll get something called sleet, maybe grapple, or an ice pellet, where it's almost like a little ball of ice that's hit the ground. That's how that happens. It only has partial melting. And of course, if you go from minus 40 within the cloud to cold air that's lower, below 0 degrees Celsius, you're going to see everything fall as snow. It can be very complicated, and many of these different precipitations can happen all at once. But regardless, if anything is falling from the sky, give yourself a little bit of extra time on the road so you can get to where you need to be safely.